Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for the subs, the comments, the likes, and sharing the videos. It means a lot to us. The biggest question that's surfacing now is what country has the best looking women? We all thought it was Brazil, right? But there's a few other countries that could take that spot too. Let's go ahead and find out which country that is in Central Asia. Let's go.
After gaining independence, Tajikistan legalized the adult industry, acknowledging its legitimacy under the law. However, some related activities, such as soliciting clients on the streets and operating certain establishments, are prohibited.
It's like that in almost any third world country. Like, people go to the third world countries thinking that they can just do whatever they want and exploit this and that. And then they get caught up in a situation that they wouldn't have got in back home in America or Europe.
Soliciting, for example, is considered an administrative offense. When adult workers are detained, they usually receive only a symbolic fine and are released shortly after. But intermediaries and recruiters may face up to 8 years in prison. Even so, many people still turn to this industry to make a living.
When they say recruiters, I don't know if they're talking about the pimps or what. In most countries, even in third world countries, pimping is illegal. Pimping is illegal in almost every country. But being a freelancer has different limitations.
In recent years, the adult market in Tajikistan has expanded significantly. According to a United Nations study, the number of women working in this sector has reached 14,000, and more discreet establishments now exceed 200 locations. Besides fixed venues,
That's bull. It's more than that. They're just telling you the numbers of places and people that were reported. So it's like double that, if not triple.
activities also occur in streets, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, and saunas. In areas where such places cluster together, informal red light districts have formed. Because the country is not very open and has strict entry requirements, most adult workers are locals or women from neighboring countries with close cultural and linguistic ties, especially Afghanistan. Surprisingly, Afghans have become a major group of clients.
Oh, so that means the white folks can't just go over there like that. Oh, okay. All right. Because you know how Americans are. They just feel entitled. They can just walk into anybody's country and do whatever they want. Don't seem like you could really get in like that over there. Unless you have some deep down connections.
Tajikistan's relatively freer social environment and similar language attract wealthy Afghan men, turning the country into a favored travel destination for them. The cost of services offered by women in the adult market varies greatly. Street workers, the most vulnerable, with no fixed place to work, charge the lowest prices, often in very poor conditions, earning around the equivalent of 15 riaris. Meanwhile, private escorts in urban areas may charge 10 times more. In the capital, Dushanbe, where living costs are higher, high-end professionals charge at least $80 to $100 per service, catering mostly to wealthy clients who are not concerned about price.
Well, duh, because they're rich. If you're rich, you don't care about the price of things unless it's something really, 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 really expensive. But that money over there is nothing to them.
Although Tajikistan recognizes the legality of this line of work, when these women are detained they must, in addition to paying a fine, undergo medical examinations. If any transmissible disease is detected, that information may be disclosed within a certain scope. For them, this is clearly discriminatory and harms their rights. However, due to long-standing social prejudice, it happens frequently. With the recent growth of the adult market, Tajikistan has begun discussing ways to regulate or restrict it. In addition to measures targeting the workers themselves, the government has also considered punishing the clients. Some argue that clients are the true drivers behind the industry's rapid expansion and that only by penalizing them can the market be effectively controlled. However, due to various issues, this proposal has never been implemented. For many people, Central Asian countries seem underdeveloped, and for most, the main impression is that there are many beautiful women there.
But the thing is, people are going there, foreigners are going there for the wrong reason. Just like, other than going there just for the working girls, there's really no other reason to go there. Not unless you're offering other resources like building, like helping build their economy. So there's pretty much no other point of going there other than going there for women and getting your way. Because the surrounding countries pretty much have an economy, let alone China to begin with.
Central Asia is made up of 5 countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. Among them, Tajikistan is the smallest, sharing a border with Xinjiang, China, to the east. Its territory covers only 143,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of China's Liaoning province. What many people don't know is that nearly 20% of this 143,000 square kilometers once belonged to China, and only 1,158 square kilometers were returned in recent years. In fact, the 5 Central Asian countries share a common origin. They all descend from the ancient Persian Empire. As many have noticed, all of their names end with Stan, which in ancient Persian means land of.
Now just take a look at the demographics, just like the facial structure and body structure and everything. So they're in the middle, surrounding Russia, China, Middle East. So these people look like a mix of everything right there within that area of territory. So when you look at these people, you could pretty much they're assumed from any of the surrounding countries, because it's a mixed bag, but then yet they share the same culture and language with areas like Pakistan, but not China. Like they could look Chinese, but then they still relate more to Pakistan's culture and everything. That's crazy. But interesting at the same time though. But like I said, these people, like they don't say the psyche of this country. There has to be a lot of depression there, because it's like, okay, these women grow up to be prostitutes, but then is there any point of marrying these women if the guys are looking for work and then the women pretty much grow up to be sex workers to the surrounding countries of men?
Thus, Tajikistan literally means land of the Tajik people. Traditionally, they were nomadic people. During the Qing dynasty, and even earlier, the entire Pamir Plateau, including what is now Tajikistan, was under Chinese administration. Unfortunately, these lands were divided and taken by Russia and the United Kingdom at the time. Of the territories lost, 28,500 square kilometers were given to the Soviet Union to form modern Tajikistan. Naturally, China never gave up on reclaiming those territories. After long negotiations, in 2011 Tajikistan finally returned 1,158 square kilometers, about 4% of the disputed area.
Wow, so if you think about it, that's not even 15 years ago, so that's still pretty recent that they received some of the land back.
Interestingly, this restitution was voluntarily approved by the Tajik parliament, which even considered the decision a great victory. As the saying goes, blessings hide within misfortune, and misfortune hides within blessings.
Oh.
Over the years, this voluntary return of land actually brought several benefits to Tajikistan, a country that is still underdeveloped. Known as the land of great mountains, it has about 93% of its territory covered by mountain ranges, and more than half of the country sits above 3,000 meters in altitude. Even though it has many mineral resources.
Now I could wake up to something like that every day. So basically their territory is beautiful, but unfortunately, they don't have a lot of outlets there. You're in the middle of the mountains, you're not by an ocean side, you're just in between terrain and desert, with a few lakes.
Almost none of them can be properly exploited. For this reason, dozens of countries provide financial and material assistance to Tajikistan every year, with China being the main donor. In 2020, for example, 62 countries contributed, and China alone donated $21 million, representing 37% of all aid received that year. The annual trade deficit also exceeds $1 billion. The extremely limited economy has pushed much of the population, especially men, to migrate to Russia in search of work.
So that's crazy though. So while the men are looking for work, they could just go on into Russia while the women stay there to pretty much do sex work. So that's causing like a great divide, you know? So while these men go to Russia and look for work, it sounds like more than likely if they want to start a family and get married, they'll find somebody in Russia versus their own women, which too many of them are doing sex work. So I'm assuming that being that a lot of these girls are escorts, that there's a low birth rate in the country.
The country ended up with large numbers of women, elderly people, and children, and there were times when the ratio between men and women reached 1 to 10, turning Tajikistan into almost a kingdom of women. Combined with local religious customs, this created a very particular environment. Although polygamy is illegal, in practice many men have multiple wives, something seen as completely normal. And the inequality goes even further. A man can divorce simply by repeating the phrase "I repudiate you" 3 times in front of a witness, and the divorce becomes valid immediately. Women.
Wow. It needs to be like that here in America. Because too many people I know went through hell going through divorces. And all you have to say is the same thing 3 times over there if you don't want to do it no more. Let alone, you don't have to lose all your stuff. So that's a blessing. But then again, you could have any woman you want to anyway because of the conditions.
Women, however, have no rights in this process and essentially leave the marriage with nothing. The idea of beauty in Tajikistan also follows its own rules. Since antiquity, in ancient Rome and Greece, women with connected eyebrows were considered especially attractive.
And I think that's what we call a unibrow, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody let me know.
This style, once a popular makeup trend, has remained the standard of beauty in Tajikistan to this day. Thick, dark, united eyebrows forming a single continuous line. Tajik women generally do not like traditional makeup. Foundation, powder, and lipstick are almost non-existent in their routine.
Wow, that's nice to hear. So, I don't know about the social media conditions over there, if they even do that over there, because of their limitations and their unfortunates, but it sounds like they're more natural looking over there. And let alone, if they don't like all that makeup and cosmetics, that means that they don't like the injections either. So you won't see a lot of women over there with a lot of BBLs and all that.
For many, the only makeup they use throughout their entire lives is connecting their eyebrows and making them as thick as possible.
Wow.
Walking through the streets, you see naturally beautiful women with striking features, and almost all of them have this single bold, dark eyebrow running across the forehead. This aesthetic trait is also tied to local marriage traditions. It is believed that the distance, or lack of distance, between the connected eyebrows of a woman is related to her future husband. The closer they are, the nearer he will live, symbolizing unity and harmony in the marriage.
But if he has to go to Russia for work, how does that work? Does he bring the woman he wants to marry in that country across the border?
Women who are born with naturally joined eyebrows are seen not only as beautiful but also as symbols of longevity and good fortune. That is why even those who do not have this feature naturally will draw or fill in their brows to create the effect. They also use a special green plant that supposedly stimulates hair growth. Perhaps because of this, many Tajik women naturally have very thick eyebrows. For men, women with connected eyebrows represent the ideal of beauty. And although few men adopt this style themselves, mainly because the abundance of women means they don't feel pressured to invest much in their appearance, many women still find such men attractive, associating the single brow with strength, vitality, and masculinity.
I mean, they sound pretty happy over there, even though they have their limited resources. But let's just say the country was on the come up. Such a small country, right? So would it ever become a powerful country is the question. Maybe over time, maybe one day they'll gain more resources, but it sounds like due to the fact that there's more women in the country than men, it leans more of a feminist environment. That's what it seems like.
Over time, this iconic eyebrow has become more than an aesthetic preference. It has turned into a true cultural symbol, filled with meanings about luck, unity, marriage, and hopes for the future. And of course, a word of advice for anyone thinking of visiting Tajikistan. Tajik women are often tall, long-legged, naturally beautiful, and carry an exotic charm that is hard to ignore.
All right, sounds like my type of place. I just like the roads and the mountains alone. But okay, the women make it a plus. The women look just as good as the environment. Of course, you're gonna have to have some money to go there if you want to deal with the women. But interesting though, because I never really hear much about Tajikistan because it's so small. It's the smallest country in Central Asia. So go ahead and check that out at All Asian Dilemmas. This is Kai Leveo. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one. Goodbye.